Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 133 of NerdPod Generations. As always, I am one of your illustrious hosts, Steve Taylor, along with the lovely Al Judson. Hello, sir.
Hello, friends and enemies.
It's good to see you, man.
We're here.
I needed this. I don't care if I had a flaming spike sticking out of my head. I would have made it here for the show.
You have one sticking out of your heart instead. It's made out of rage and pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to unleash that rage and pain on some movies that I didn't like.
Do we have anything that you can vent that anger towards?
A couple things.
Yeah.
A couple things.
Yeah. Okay. Have we been planning anything for like a few weeks that we've been like, we're going to do this next week?
This is our new James Bond episode, and we'll talk about that a little bit in watching, playing, reading. But this is our superhero episode, and it's where I like to say, kind of superheroes go to die because it was the Marvels and Aquaman, but now we're putting in a Spiderverse short.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to. I'm just going to stick with superheroes go to die just because the short's a short.
This is superhero landing.
Yeah, it is.
It's a superhero landing.
But as always, folks, this is NerdPod Generations 133, meaning we have 132 previous episodes of Pure Gold, so please go back and listen to them on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, go to youtube.com to NerdPod Generations, where Al is very graciously putting up segments of all our shows.
Yeah, it's part of the producing gig.
And past shows.
I haven't done past shows in a while. I do need to get back into that.
But no, that's fine. I mean, we have other things in our lives.
I want people to understand, like, I know I'm working on it. I have been so busy with work.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, so busy with work. And so we're gonna get there when we get there.
See, if more of you would tell your friends to listen to our show, then we'd be able to do this for a living, and then
well, this is the other thing, is I need to take requests. We have 130 great episodes.
Yes.
About 100 or so aren't on YouTube. So now I need to go through 100 episodes and find the ones that are worth putting on YouTube first. And that would be a lot easier if people told me what they wanted to go on YouTube.
So go to YouTube and leave us some comments. Let us know what you think.
Yes, please and thank you.
Now, we start every episode with what you've been watching, playing, reading. I am going to start this off because I am going to continue my MCU journey.
Excellent. What a day for it.
Last night, my son and I watched Age of Ultron.
First and foremost, before we get to Age of Ultron, Winter Soldier. Y/N.
Oh, no, we did watch Winter Soldier. That's right.
You had to. If you're watching Age of Ultron, you can't watch Age of Ultron.
So we did watch. Thank you for reminding me, too. Yeah. My brain is off. So we did watch Winter Soldier. I could tell my son liked it. It wasn't his favorite because it's a little slower.
It's too old for him.
But once again, I was completely enamored, and it is by far the best Marvel movie, period.
It's just a good movie.
It's so good.
It has big Jack Ryan energy. Has big
does.
Guy on the mid-levels, finds out about something, starts tracking something down, and finds a whole rabbit hole to
And what I liked about it, it has just enough superhero stuff without too much superhero stuff.
I still love how they did Arnim Zola. Like, that's the kind of thing that's like...
It was awesome. And let me tell you, once again, best scene ever filmed in Marvel is that elevator scene with Cap.
Yeah.
That scene is so great.
Yeah.
Like, everyone talks John Wick. It's like, that was before John Wick.
Yeah.
And you can't watch that scene without going, dude.
And the moment he dives out and he just takes the full fall, you're just like, God damn, that's Cap.
And
that's fucking Cap.
His costume in that is so great.
Oh, it gets so much better.
It's so much better.
It's a full 180 from Avengers.
Oh, 1,000%.
In a moment that we don't see all that often, Marvel listened to the fans, and they said, yes, the Coulson Avengers costume sucks dick. It's really, really bad. So we're going to put Cap in a shield-based costume, and then when he puts on the red, white, and blue, he's going to go get his costume from the museum that you all love. And I was like, thank you. This is what we wanted. Yeah, it wasn't that complicated.
Such a great movie. Then we watch Age of Ultron, which obviously my son was going to like more because it's flashier, it's got more stuff going on.
It has Tony Stark in it.
Yeah, and it has all the Avengers, so like he loves seeing it. He loved Vision.
Good. Vision was one of those characters that when they first brought him in, I was like, I had that kind of Thor feeling of how is this going to work? Because I wanted to work. Vision's one of my favorite characters in the comics. And I wasn't sure if it was going to work. And I think that they did a pretty good job.
I got to say about this movie.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones, and I know this had Josh Whedon at least said there was a lot of interference from the studio.
This is the one that began that line of criticism of Marvel.
Exactly. But it's weird because out of all the Marvel movies, this one has things that I absolutely despise, but then it has moments that I absolutely loved. And it was odd because of that fact.
I feel this way about a lot of Marvel movies these days. We're going to get to it with Captain Marvel and Marvels. That's going to be we're going to have a whole conversation about Marvel has become this empire of division.
Yes.
You have the good stuff, and then you have the bad stuff. And the grading on that movie is just a division on how much you put in good and how much you put in bad.
Yeah.
And so the beginning of Age of Ultron, I will never forgive them. That whole thing with Hydra, that whole fiasco with Baron Strucker, I hate it. It's so frustrating. It's deeply upsetting to me. I hate it. You had everything there and you blew it. And I don't understand why you blew it for a joke. I hate it. It's so dumb. The stuff with Wakanda, I think that they could have done that a little better. I get it. It's just a one-line thing. But the fact that Bruce Banner doesn't know how to pronounce it, I'm like, it's Bruce Banner.
He's a genius.
I feel like he would know. He's traveled the world. He's hidden in some of the most remote areas in the world. I feel like he would know about Wakanda.
I did like, though, in that same scene, Cap and Tony's reaction. How they looked at each other like, I thought your dad got... Like, they know exactly what Wakanda is.
Yeah.
That was kind of awesome. Like, I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think one of the greatest missed opportunities Marvel has had is Andy Serkis's Claw is awesome.
I am so divided on his Claw.
I love him as Claw.
Is this the one where he talks about his mixtape, or is that Black Panther where he talks about his mixtape?
I think that's Black Panther.
Okay. Because I am so divided, because for every moment I like him, he says something that I'm just like, oh, this is so antithetical to the Claw I know. Like, it's not just kind of,
that's the thing.
So, it's like Dr. Doom being like, dude, I dropped some sick beats at the club. I'm like, well, I'm gone. I'm not here for this.
That's the writing, which unfortunately... But it's not necessarily what he says. It's his presence.
Yeah.
It's his tone. It's how it's like, dude, he just looks awesome. Like, it's like everything about him as Claw is awesome. Wanda Maximoff and once again, why you got to kill Quicksilver?
I don't understand.
It's so stupid.
Now that we're about 10 years out from this movie and 2 phases, I fully don't understand the decision to kill Quicksilver. And you know, it goes back to WandaVision. It's one thing. It's another one of those things that they tried to fix because they were doing damage control at that point. And, you know, I don't mind the Scarlet Witch not having the full effect of her powers, but the way that they depowered her to the point where she just has telekinesis.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, but like that's not the point.
Yeah.
And you won't call her the Scarlet Witch and all these other. You won't give her the crown. You got there, and that's what's really important, but this is where you started, and while I can appreciate that this isn't the worst starting point, I also feel like you could have tried a little harder.
Yeah, and it was... I don't know, there were certain things about her, and once again, I do not blame Ashley... It's not Ashley Olsen.
No, it's
Elizabeth
Liz Olsen.
I don't blame her, once again, I think it was the writing. It's just some of the things she said and some of her acting choices were not great. I know this is early on in her career, kind of, for like these bigger movies.
They went a little overboard. I've been watching a lot of X-Men, which means I've been seeing a lot of Scarlet Witch, seen a lot of better Scarlet Witches in some animated TV shows, and that's such a low bar.
Yeah,
it's such a low bar.
And honestly, one of my biggest problems, especially since I've been watching these movies kind of close together, you go from the end of Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Where he gets the chest fixed, he destroys all of his armors, to this movie where it's like, not only is he still a ton of armors, and he builds a ton of other robots, it's like, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
At the end of Iron Man 3, you're like, oh, is he ever going to be Iron Man again?
He says he's retired.
He retired. And then now it's like, oh, he's not only Iron Man, he's Iron Man, like, 5.0. It's crazy.
The newest form of Iron Man is I'm part Nick Fury, part Iron Man.
Yeah.
Where I'm just he does this whole build the suit of armor thing, but he also has all the drones, and he's clearly been working on a bunch of Avengers tech that he's trying to throw out there as like an alternative to S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything. And man, I would have liked to have seen that in one of the movies. That would have been helpful to see.
I don't know. And once again, we don't know how long it was in between Iron Man 3 and this movie.
Well, it used to be.
The timelines are all fucked up.
It used to be that you could presume it was about a year later. Every movie took place somewhere between 6 to 8 to 12 months after the previous one. And it was usually dependent on when they were released. You could kind of use the release date as your guide point to be like, okay, so this takes place about this long after Iron Man 3. And man, we can't do that anymore. And but I agree with you. Age of Ultron, when you think about it, they don't really set a time on when it takes place, because apparently the Avengers have been going around busting up Hydra stuff for a while. So we don't know when that started. Was that right after Cap exposed Hydra in the American government? Like, when did that begin? Is that what got Tony off the couch? Like, again, these are all things I can presume, but I would like to see.
And that is the thing that makes The Winter Soldier so good, is because that movie takes place in a way that is very secretive. And so it's not like Iron Man 3 where you're like, where the fuck are the other Avengers? This one is like, all right, Tony's supposedly retired. You do have Nick Fury and Black Widow. And and you get to meet Falcon. And it's like, you still have this, but it's not like, it's not set in a situation where you're like, there's no way. Because you watch Age of Ultron, and you're like, okay, so this is a year after Iron Man 3. Everyone is still around. Where the fuck were they during Iron Man 3? And maybe even more say, Tony supposedly died to a terrorist, and there's no Avengers anywhere.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing, is the publicity of it. Is that in Winter Soldier, it's all spycraft, so none of this is making it out onto the news. None of it's a big deal.
And it's only a couple days.
Exactly.
So it's not a long time.
It takes place over a very short period of time. Iron Man 3, I would say, takes place over the course of about 5 days, I would estimate.
Yeah, about in there.
It has major news splashes of Tony Stark being dead and all these other things, and it's like, I feel like somebody should have checked in. The president gets kidnapped. I feel like somebody should have checked in. I feel like that would have been something that, I don't know, anyone wants to take care of. I will never forgive them for also stealing Iron Patriot and ruining it. I'm so mad about that. I'm so mad. I will always be mad. Shane Black saw something. He saw something shiny on the shelf, and he was like, "Oh, I want it." And all of us were like, "No. That's for advanced levels. We're holding that for Norman." And he said, "No. I want it." And
yeah, they fucked it up.
The new Iron Patriot, baby.
So now we're moving on to my son is ecstatic to watch Ant-Man, which I know we cringe a little bit, but
yeah.
So we're moving on now. So next time I speak, maybe we'll have seen Ant-Man, maybe not. I don't know.
I just wish Marvel. This is going to be my quick pitch for what my version of Age of Ultron would be. I'm not going to get into all my gory details because I have mapped out the gory details. I would fully get rid of the woman who is Amadeus Cho's mother, because that's never going to go anywhere, who's the surgeon who helps Hawkeye, who also builds the cradle that builds Vision. Get rid of that. Get it out of here. Get it out of here. And insert in its place Janet Van Dyne. We don't need to have Hank, but if you have Jan here, have Lucy Liu here. Tony's flirting with her constantly. She's just like, "Oh, that's great, Tony." And I'm going to go back to Hank. Hank's not in his 60s. He's in his 40s. And they have a computer program that they haven't been able to get to work. And Tony says, "Let me take a crack at it." And he looks at it and he says, "Hey, if I combine this with this, this, and this." And then Banner comes in and says, "Hey, let me help you with that." And that's how Ultron is born. And it's still based off of Hank Pym's brainwaves and all these other things. And you can still do all that and not rob it. And also, I still wait for children to ask, why does Ultron look like Ant-Man? Why is that?
Yeah, that's true.
They toned down the wings on the side of his head
until the final iteration of him. And they're predominant. Like, that's Ant-Man's helmet. Period. End of story.
So it's just one of those interesting things that I've always had gripes with. I don't like it. I'm very upset about it still to this day. We haven't even talked about the farmhouse. Oh my god, I forgot about the farmhouse.
As much as I do love when Cap rips the log in half.
That's a great moment.
That's an awesome moment.
That's a great moment that you can still have in another location.
Yeah, it was so great. Even my son will start laughing his ass off at that. I'm like, I can't do that.
I remember when it leaked online, that scene, and I just remember seeing it in 360i, to the worst quality you've ever seen, and just being so excited because at that point we were like, oh, they're building to Civil War. They're building to Civil War. Oh my God, we're gonna do Civil War, and we at that point had a lot more trust in Marvel's process.
And then they fucked up Civil War, so we're not gonna talk about that.
Well, not yet. eventually.
But they eventually fuck it up. Yeah. All right, what have you been watching there,
So
buddy?
speaking of Marvel movies, I watched a movie that I think was supposed to be a Marvel movie that ended up not being a Marvel movie, because I finally watched True Lies.
Oh,
He works for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston is literally Nick Fury.
Tell me how awesome Heston looked.
When he showed up, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? What is happening right now?
Yep.
He so clearly works for S.H.I.E.L.D.
And what was it? What was the name of it? It was like
They never give the name. They pointedly never name the department that he works for.
But wasn't it like a chess or something? It was like a chess piece or...
No, there is no name.
I can't remember the name.
They
purposely...
They purposely keep on saying, we don't know what agency you work for.
Yeah.
And they just say the agency that he works for. He's a salesman, and
even at salesman.
Yeah, even at the office, they don't actually say what the job is. It's 100% S.H.I.E.L.D. He works for S.H.I.E.L.D. This is a backdoor S.H.I.E.L.D. movie.
Yep.
And it just I was not expecting that.
I told you, when you see Charlton Heston, you're like, God damn it, dude.
The eye patch and he is Nick Fury in a weirdly real way.
Yeah. And he pulled it off. Like,
right down to
awesome.
Him saying so you have nothing.
Yeah.
And then being like, well, we have this, this, and this, and Fury being like, well, you have nothing.
You have nothing.
You have nothing. It would be really great if you had something, but you don't. So come back when you have it.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything. And it was just it was a movie that kind of twisted and turned away from what I was expecting, because you hear James Cameron.
It's really a comedy.
It's such a comedy, and that was the thing that kind of took me off guard.
Yeah,
was I came into it expecting like a James Cameron science fiction spy thriller action movie, kind of a James Bond by James Cameron, and you get the sequence where he swims through the gate, which was already confusing. I was like, why is there a gate underwater? Whatever, it's fine. And then he comes in and things are a little goofy and Tom Arnold's there and you're like, okay, this is a weird tone.
Tom Arnold's ever
It is
done.
the best thing Tom Arnold has ever
done.
done.
When he sees the daughter and says, I remember the first time I was shot out of a cannon, and fucking laughed at it.
No, it is literally the best thing Tom Arnold has ever done. But like just everything going on with the banquet.
Yep.
And then going to the action sequence after that, where it's anybody who's seen Jackie Chan First Strike, you can see this sequence done in real life. But this is like a cartoon version of these guys running down a mountain, shooting at each other every 10 feet. And just like it just...
And you can kind of tell, like, when he comes out of the kitchen and is yelling at the chef, and at the bottom it says in perfect German. Yeah. You're like, okay, now I know they're fucking around.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it was just so strange.
Yeah.
There were just, like, a lot of moments that I wasn't expecting, and then it turns into a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, with the Harrier jet at the end.
I'm so fully confused.
The scene where he pulls Jamie Lee Curtis from the car and she's dangling.
Yeah.
That's her. She really did that stunt.
Wow.
She was dangling from a helicopter over that busted up bridge.
Wow, that's impressive.
I remember watching the making of it. That was fucking her, man.
I assumed that was one of the many CGI pieces because this was
before. This was 94.
No, I know, but they still had enough technology to make blocky looking things.
Yeah, but it wasn't a lot, but it was.
Yeah, like the Harrier jet stuff. I'm looking at you.
No, that was on a. That was like a. There was a jet on a string. Like, that was just them spinning it around.
Oh, really? That's how they did it.
That's how they did it.
Interesting.
Yeah, because that was still practical.
Yeah.
I think that was even before, like, Jumanji and all that shit.
It was the same year as Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So we had that level. That was the level of CGI that we had. Better be at night and a little dark.
Yeah.
And it'll look great. But, no, it was just so strange because then you meet Jamie Lee Curtis. Yep. And I was like, okay, this is why you come to the movies, because Jamie Lee Curtis is hilarious. And then it turns into this marital drama. Yeah. And I'm like, this is not what I thought we were doing.
With a slimy as hell Bill Paxton.
Oh, my God. All three of the men are so slimy. All three of them are so slimy. To this degree of, like, I don't know who I'm supposed to cheer for here. Yeah. Am I supposed to...
Her. Like, Curtis,
I guess so.
Yep.
And just, like, I did love the turn when he finally tortures her to the point where she says that she's not cheating on him.
Yeah.
And I mean, not literally torture, but like psychological torture. Locks her up in a extradition room, psychological torture. And I was just like, okay, so this is where the movie's going now. Great. Okay. You get that famous scene with the striptease and everything. And I was like, okay, this is funny. And then the movie from the first half picks up again. I'm like, okay.
Goes back to an action movie.
All right. And you have moments that I'm like, oh, okay, I'm really looking forward to this, where he gets put on sodium pentothal. And,
awesome.
They're going to have this whole conversation between him and Jamie Lee Curtis, and they're going to hash everything out. I'm like, okay, great. But we don't see all of it. We see, enough of it, but not all of it. And then they come back, and he's still loopy, but he is just Schwarzeneggered out.
Yes.
Where it's just like, so he's on drugs right now? Right now. With everything that he's doing right now. Are you sure? Because it doesn't seem like he's on anything.
I love that when she's like, have you killed people? Yes, but they've all been bad.
Yes.
I fucking laugh at her.
The one that I loved was, so if I ask you anything right now, you'll tell me the truth? Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Are we going to die? Yep.
So good. And that's what I loved, is this was like, the two of them together were so good. Mm-hmm. They played, and once again, Tom Arnold was so fucking funny.
Yeah, and I really love the ending where they become Boris and Doris.
Yep.
I thought that was so fun. Like, by the end of the movie, I was like, okay, this all coalesced really well.
Yes.
But there were a lot of moments there where I was like, this is not what I thought was going to happen.
Again, it's one that, and I know this was the same with me, you have to watch it multiple times, because it's kind of like, what was the one he did, Last Action Hero? Mm-hmm. First time you see it, you're like, I don't know, I didn't like it, because you're expecting an Arnold action movie. But then once you see it a few times, you're like, I can kind of get where they're going with this.
And it has the Arnold one-liners to the point where there are some of them that just don't make any sense. Yeah. Where he fires the terrorist off with the missile, and he's like, you're fired.
You're fired.
And it's like, you weren't his employer. That doesn't make any sense for you to say that.
I love it.
No, but like, when Eliza Dushku came up I was like, oh, Buffy Eliza. No. Baby.
Yeah. Very young.
Yeah. So very interesting, very fun. Just not at all what I was expecting.
Just a fun movie.
And I think a movie that I'm surprised they haven't remade. I don't know if it needs to be remade. I think that it could be remade.
They kind of did with Fubar, his TV show on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
It's very similar. Very similar.
Yeah.
To where he's a spy, his ex-wife didn't, none of his family knows, and then he has to go on a mission, to his final mission, and it's to save an agent, and the agent is his daughter, who he didn't know was also a spy.
Oh, that's fun. I like that.
And it's fun. And Tom Arnold plays an interrogator who tortures people, and he's funny about it. And yeah, it's got its things, but it's as close as you can get to it.
No, there were a lot of moments that I did really like.
Yeah.
The moment when he comes out of the office after finding out that his wife is cheating on him, and Tom Arnold's like, welcome to the club, buddy!
The funny thing about that, when he says, what kind of sick bitch takes the ice cube trays? One of his ex-wives did that.
Really?
So he took that from his own life. She took the ice cube trays.
I love the last line of the movie. I've been in the van for 15 years, Harry. I don't want to be in the fan anymore.
I fucking love it.
So very surprising. I didn't fall in love with it like I thought I would, but I definitely enjoyed it. I would give it like a B. There's definitely
Once again, I think if you watch it again, you might, because your expectations were one thing.
That's the thing, is that I expected it to be campy. I didn't expect it to be this campy.
Yeah.
I didn't expect there to be more than one scene of Bill Paxton pissing himself campy. God,
it was so... He was I know what you mean. Like, the other guys were just scumbags. He was the slimiest. Like, he just looked oily. With his hair.
It's the mustache.
The mustache.
He has the perv stash.
Fuck. And the scene where Schwarzenegger dreams that he punches him in the face and then it goes back to him laughing. I'm like, fucking awesome. But that was playing off type too, because when I heard Bill Paxton was in it, this was coming off of like Aliens and all that. I'm like, he was just a scumbag used car salesman.
That was a MacGuffin that was introduced that I was very surprised by.
Yeah.
Was his briefcase full of spy stuff.
Oh my God.
And it just never goes anywhere. No one talks about it. It never comes up again in the plot. But he has like all these passports and all this foreign money and a fake gun. And I'm like, we're not going to talk about this? There's just nothing to talk about here? I feel like there's something to talk about here.
They are literally his sex toys because he uses them to get sex with women.
Yeah.
I got a little dick. It's pathetic.
Yeah. No, I love it. But it was good. I enjoyed it a lot. Good. Jamie Lee Curtis is definitely the best part of that movie. Awesome. By far the best part of that movie. Especially...
Except the only scene that I thought was dumb and I didn't like is her dropping the Uzi and it falling down the stairs and shooting guys.
I would have liked that more if the Uzi spun. The fact that it just spins pinwheel style over end and it shoots all these people.
And her going...
They cut back to her going... a lot. And they did the fake death, and okay, we're gonna do a fake death.
I mean, it wasn't perfect by far, but
no. Well, and it was also back in 1994, so there was different levels of expectations. The genre had been bent to various different levels than it has now, whereas some of these things come off as very cheesy and overdone. So
because I remember this was the big summer movie the year I graduated high school, and that final 2 months of high school, it's all we could talk about. It's like, oh my god, new James Cameron, Arnold Schwarzenegger, just going nuts.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was expecting. So I wasn't expecting to come in and have it be, I was expecting to be closer. He didn't do Predators, but I was expecting to be closer to Predators and Terminator, where there's some humor, but it's mostly action.
I got you.
And not mostly comedy with action thrown in to kind of spice everything up every once in a while.
That's true.
Not bad.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting it.
Gotcha. We do have to, before we move on, I want to do a quick shout out to, it's pretty much set in stone now. Aaron Taylor Johnson is the new James Bond.
Yeah, they've pretty much done everything besides sign the papers.
I actually really like it.
I don't mind it. He's a little too big in my opinion. I feel like James Bond is a going up, not a pedestal. It's like you be James Bond on your way up.
Yeah.
So
but I mean, in reality, he's done a lot of genre movies that you and I know him really well. I bet you ask the normal moviegoer, they wouldn't know who the fuck he is.
I think they wouldn't know him by name. I think they would know him if they saw his face.
By appearance.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think they would be like, oh, Craven. Yeah, I know fucking Craven.
Because I would say he's probably at the same level that Daniel Craig was. He had done, a bunch of movies and was, I knew who he was. He was a pretty big name.
I just feel like he was the lead in Godzilla. Not in sales.
Yes.
In sales, it was Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston.
But in actuality, he was the lead in Godzilla. And I feel like he's popped up a little too often to be James Bond. You can't be the lead in multiple franchises.
You know what, though? Good for him, because he is going to hopefully sign this contract and be the next James Bond before that god-awful fucking Kraven the Hunter comes out and potentially ruins his career.
Well, he's already bashing it. He's already gone into the camp that Dakota Johnson set up and is just like, this movie sucks. I don't know why they make movies this way. I'm not sure what they wanted. They paid me well. I acted in it. I can only do as well as they write. I don't write the movies.
And he is young enough that he could go a long way with Bond.
He could.
I think he's one of the younger actors since Connery, potentially, that has started their run as Bond. So, yeah, he could get a good 5-6 movies in, probably.
Yeah, very potentially.
Yeah. So let's go into our Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse special short on YouTube.
Yes.
I need to ask, what the fuck are they doing with the sound mixing with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
I don't know.
The audio, the dialogue audio,
we had
was
to crank
so
it.
low.
We had to crank it to watch it, and then the sound, the music would come on and blow you out.
Yeah. After what happened with the last movie, what are they fucking doing?
No, I don't know.
That's all I could think about.
I have no idea, because I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense. The audio mixing, as somebody who does it on a week-to-week basis, is time-consuming but not complicated.
But especially with the first movie being perfect.
Yeah.
How? And I was actually laughing when I first was watching it, because I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
This is doing it again. And it so was.
The Spider Within is the name of the short.
Yes.
Which I like the concept and the execution on it. I think that I agree with you. There were some elements such as the sound mixing that weren't great. By and large, I think that it did succeed in telling a really good Spider-Man story.
It did, but it was kind of pointless. Like, it did show the father-son dynamic, which was cool. But then when I was done watching it, I was like,
I think it didn't necessarily...
Like, I didn't need to see that.
It didn't finish its story. It introduced a concept. The concept of what it actually means to be Spider-Man. Because I've read this comic so many times. Of Peter being chased by the nightmare of being Spider-Man. And the weight and severity that brings to his life, to the point where he just feels crippled and buried under this responsible weight. And when seeing it through Miles' eyes, I was just like, man, I feel for you, dude. Like,
yeah, but it just, in 7 minutes, it was just rushed. Like, I think they could have, I don't know, made it a 15-minute short or
I would have liked a 15-minute short.
Like,
when I saw it. When I saw it was 7, I was also kind of bummed. I was like, oh, I was hoping this would be longer.
Well, because, like, his kind of living nightmare things he had were so fast. And he goes from not wanting to sit with his dad to watch horror movies to this quick little shot of him having these living nightmares, and then all of a sudden he's back out and he's going to have a conversation with his dad. It's like, that just moved too fast.
I thought it was okay. I didn't mind the pacing on it, but I also, first off, I have a terrible bias where I'm going to come into this with more love than dislike off the top.
Like, I mean, I love it too. I love...
But I'm just saying, like, it's going to be hard for me to sit here and be like, no, I didn't think it was that good, or I think that they could have done better, because I'm stupid biased at this point. But I do think that it's very interesting that they didn't finish the thought.
Yeah.
They brought up a really important idea that I think isn't talked about enough in culture, which is the idea of men being able to talk about their problems.
Yes.
And whether that's with each other or with someone else, instead of dealing with it on their own, instead of bottling it up and feeling like nobody else can help them with it, being able to have the bravery to reach out and ask someone for help. I think that's a really big conversation that we don't have. That. But like... I like the way that they executed on the whole spider of it all. I thought that was really fun and creepy, where I was just sitting there like, wow, what's going on? What's happening? And then it's the spider. I'm like, of course it's the spider, because that's always what it is the weight and responsibility, whether that manifests as the suit, a giant spider, Uncle Ben, seen in a million different ways. But, you know, I was really taken with it. I wanted more out of it, but I really liked what they gave us.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't want you to think I didn't like it. I just, like, for me to grade it, I would grade it I for incomplete. Because it just, to me, didn't feel like a completed thought. And once again, it didn't need much more.
Yeah.
Double the time, make it 15 minutes. Maybe flesh out his inner turmoil a little more before it goes from not wanting to talk about it to automatically being okay to talk about it. It seemed like I wish there was a little more, like,
nuance,
even a little bit, just a little bit more. Once again, 7 more minutes wouldn't have been a lot.
I would go even so far. It's a 7-minute short. I would say round it out to 10.
Yeah,
round it out to 10.
It probably would have done,
and just have them, a shot of them getting hot dogs or something at the corner. And talking. And we don't have to necessarily even hear them talking, but just like seeing them talking and having that conversation, I think, is important.
Well, and I did like the it showed his dad in a more vulnerable light, because it showed, like, when he comes out of his bedroom, he scares his dad who's watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
And in everything we've seen, the dad's the big tough cop and all that.
Yeah.
So I did like that. Like, I liked how they showed that vulnerability in the father, but I don't know. Once again, it was good. But the fucking audio, I really...
No, I agree with you on that.
I don't understand.
I don't get that. I don't understand what is Sony's problem. I just don't understand. Can't you just produce a good movie? Can't you just get out of your own goddamn way?
I don't know either.
Like, it's one thing when you produce a produced-to-shit movie like Madam Web or Craven or Venom 2 or Morbius, or I could go on and on and on. It's another thing when you have something where all you have to do is get out of the way. And for some reason, there's always some technical problem with it. And I don't understand how you keep on putting yourselves in this position.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
And once again, if everything they've done in the Spiderverse had these same issues, at least that would have been like, okay, so obviously this team just can't, they're doing like what's a Game Freak with Pokemon. They can't make a good 3D game. They keep fucking it up. But it's like the first one didn't have any of these issues.
Well,
and then all of a sudden going into the second one, the audio's all fucked, and then it's all fucked here.
It almost feels like a creative choice at some point, where they're like, the part of the vision is that the volume for the voices is low, but the volume for the music is high.
But once again, they would have had that in the first one
if
that was the creative idea. And like, I hate when people compared it to Oppenheimer. It's like, no, Oppenheimer, it literally was noticeable that was a directive choice.
Yeah.
To where this is just like...
It seems like bad filmmaking.
It does seem, the editing process.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I've noticed more. Like, I noticed it with Dune, and there's just, it seems like nowadays, I don't know if it's necessarily the director, but the editors seem to be fucking up, because it's like, Steven Spielberg came out and said he thought Dune 2 was one of the greatest science fiction movies ever made. And I'm like, you can't tell the editing issues in that movie, though?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's great parts of it, but man, they're noticeably chunks that should be fucking there that are edited.
We have made that turn with Dune 2, where all the hype boys came out and said, it's great. And then everybody else saw it and they were like, I mean, it's good, but it's got problems.
Yeah.
And now you have the hype boys coming back and being like, no, you just don't appreciate how great of casting Christopher Walken was as the Emperor. You just don't appreciate the decisions that they made. And it's like, no. This isn't about appreciation. This is about looking at the thing that they gave us and saying, but why did you do this?
Yeah.
You can't, your answer to that can't be, well, you just don't get it. No. There is a rational reason for doing that.
I hate that.
It can't be, you don't get it. That's not the, no.
Yeah.
That's not what we're here for. That's not going to float in this class. That's like saying, in my opinion. I don't give a shit about your opinion. You give me an argument that shows what your opinion is. Don't tell me what your opinion is. Show me what your opinion is.
Exactly. All right, so we got to move on. Now we're going to be talking about 2 superhero movies where I know we're kind of torn on one, definitely not on the other. But we're going to be talking about the Marvels first. Because we finally have watched the Marvels and Aquaman The Lost Kingdom.
Yes.
This is the one we're kind of torn on.
Yes.
Because I watched the Marvels.
You did not like it.
And I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
And Kamala Khan, I agree with you. And I can imagine her in the background going, why the fuck are we making these decisions? Because she has come out pretty much and said that she did that during the making of the show.
Yeah. And she did it for Doctor Strange.
And Doctor Strange.
She had one of the best reactions to Doctor Strange, and I'm not just saying that because it was my reaction to Doctor Strange, where she said they did Black Bolt dirty.
Yeah.
Like, no shit, they really did. They really fucked that one up.
And listen, I will say this to the end of days. I'm in love with Brie Larson. I think she's gorgeous. I think she's a fantastic actor. You know, everyone bashes her acting. It's like, dude, it's not her acting. I think she does a great job with what she gets.
I think she's a good actor in other things. I have not had a moment. There have been brief glimpses. So I guess I have a moment. But I've only had moments where I look at her and I say, this is the promise that I was made.
But see, that's the thing. Like, because of the things I've seen her in, where it's been, like, Oscar-winning things, that's why I'm not necessarily going to put the blame on her.
I don't put it on her. I put it on the directing and the writing.
Yes.
And I think that they come to her and they say, this is what we want the character to be.
Yes.
And so she tries to give that to them. And it just, especially in the first Captain Marvel, less so here in the Marvels, but especially in the first one, there were just a lot of moments where it seemed like they kept on giving her the note, care less.
Yes.
Care even less about what's happening. Like, show that you do care, but care even less. And just like the way that she gave all of her dialogue in that movie was so just... There was just no iteration to it. And I get it. The whole point was that she doesn't take things seriously enough for the Kree and all these other things. But I just don't think that landed as well as you wanted it to, because it came off as just this kind of like aloof, I don't care about anything.
I could see that.
And so
I could see that.
Here, we don't have as much of that problem, but I do still have a few moments where I have an issue with her delivery, which is also just a matter of what's going on in this story. There are a few moments in the story here where I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Dude.
What the fuck is happening?
This movie was, when it finished, I was just like, that was, like I said, even my wife watched the second half of it with me, and she just looked and she goes, that's bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it was fucking terrible.
I compare this to Shang-Chi. The first 2/3 I really like. For the most part, it has gaps and problems, but I can kind of get away with them at times. And then they make a decision at the beginning of the third act that is so tragic, and then they double down on it with further bad decisions that break canon over and over again. So it starts with the Flurkins, and then the whole thing with the bracers is a mess.
Yeah,
it's a mess. And Kelly was sitting there with me proposing like, oh, maybe it means this, maybe it means this. And I'm like, well, the problem with that is that they directly said what it means in the show.
Yeah.
They said what it is. And now they're saying it's a different thing.
Yeah.
And this is not what they said it was in the show. In the show, they said it's this. And now they're saying, wait, this is how it works. No. That wasn't what you told us. You told us that the way this works is that it activates her powers when she's wearing it, implying and showing that she can't use her powers unless she's wearing it.
Yep.
Which, that goes out the window by the end of this movie for some
absolutely.
reason. I don't understand that. That made no fucking sense, because if that's the thing, then just leave it at home.
Yeah.
Then just don't bring it. If you don't need it, then don't bring it.
Yeah.
You know this MacGuffin is wanted by the villain, then don't bring it.
Have Captain Marvel throw it into the sun.
Anywhere. You don't need it, and you know that it can accidentally transport you through time and space. Maybe don't wear it if you don't need to wear it.
Yeah.
But instead, they have her wear it the whole movie, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
There's a lot of things that don't make it. Like, there are sometimes they use their powers and they switch places. And there are sometimes they use their powers.
Well, it's only when they use their powers at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is a wrinkle that they didn't really show. I mean, they showed it, but at the same time, there were moments where, you know, Photon is using her light vision and someone's blasting something. And you're just like, so that doesn't count? That doesn't count? It's only if you're shooting beams. Okay.
It's so fucking dumb.
And why does Photon have a spacesuit? She doesn't need one.
She doesn't need a spacesuit.
She doesn't need a spacesuit. That's the whole point, is that she's made out of light. She doesn't need a spacesuit. Oh, well, she needs a spacesuit because she's going to teleport with Kamala Khan, and Kamala Khan needs a spacesuit. Well, then you need to write that scene better, dude. That's not good. That's not good enough.
I mean. Like, right from, like, even the depiction of Nick Fury in this.
You mean Grandpa Nick?
It was terrible.
You mean Grandpa Nick? Because
terrible.
I was watching the X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men this week.
Yes.
And there was an episode where he blackmails Wolverine, Nick Fury, blackmails Wolverine into helping him with a fight with the Hulk. So he goes to Wolverine, picks him up in the middle of a fight with the mutant police, and takes him to a diner and basically says, I know where you live, and I know the name of every X-Men on your team, and I will give it to the American government so that they will come to your house and arrest everybody that lives there, and you won't be able to do anything about it unless you do this job for me. That's Nick Fury.
Yeah.
That's fucking Nick Fury. So Nick Fury takes Wolverine and drops him in the Canadian wilderness to fight the Hulk. Except, funny story, it's not just to fight the Hulk, because the Wendigo is out here, because they did Wendigo, and that's fucking badass. Thank you for doing Wendigo. Big thumbs up. Except that it's still not even that. Because Nick Fury says, oh, they discovered a magic crystal and it turned somebody into a Wendigo and now there's a problem. No. S.H.I.E.L.D. was fucking around trying to figure out a way to weaponize this Wendigo spell and turned a bunch of their agents into Wendigos. And then they brought in Bruce Banner to fix it. And then that didn't work because it's the fucking Hulk.
Yeah.
So 2 towns got destroyed. So now they have to figure out how to stop the Hulk and the Wendigo. So now they bring in Wolverine, and now they have enough people here with brains to take care of this situation. And at the end, Fury's just like, what are you gonna fucking do? Tell on me? Like, what are you gonna do? And Wolverine's like, well, I won't tell if you don't tell where my people live. And that's their agreement. And they walk away. That's Nick Fury.
Yeah.
I don't know who Grandpa Nick is.
No, and this wasn't even a Nick Fury from the fucking Secret Invasion, that goddamn awful show.
I don't know what happened to Grandpa Nick when he went through the blink. Because you think we would have found out in Secret Invasion, but somehow we still don't know. Something happened to Grandpa Nick, and it stole all of his Austin Powers mojo. Like, just full out, he is not Nick Fury. Yeah. He is Grandpa Nick. He is a very sweet man who you think might have done some shit in his 40s that he doesn't talk about anymore. But he's not that guy anymore. He's just sweet Grandpa Nick. Oh. He just wants to hold cats and give them pets and tutor children and help people with their problems and talk through situations. He doesn't have any machinations for control over anything. Nick Fury has earned the ire of the gods on numerous occasions, to the point where he gets banished from the universe. I am tired of Grandpa Nick. Yeah. I'm tired of Grandpa Nick.
I mean, it was like the evolution of that character from what we saw after Endgame, going into Secret Invasion, and then what we see here.
What do you mean after Endgame? He wasn't in Endgame.
I mean, I said after Endgame.
But that's what I mean, is like he shows up at the end of Infinity War.
Yes.
And then we see him at Tony's funeral.
Yes.
And then we see nothing from him, because the next time we see him is in Far From Home, except, oh wait! That's not him! So what is he...
Well, we see him on the spaceship.
So what is Grandpa Nick doing? And
we don't know.
It just makes me so mad. Because I don't...
Well, he's married to Skrull, so...
I don't love... I have no love for Nick Fury, right? But Nick Fury is such an antagonizing force to the Marvel Universe. Yeah. You want to talk about an anti-hero? Imagine a governmental official who is an anti-hero on the level of the Punisher. Okay?
Well, Suicide Squad did it right with Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
That's how Nick Fury should have been.
Yeah.
Exactly how she was.
He does not give a shit about you.
Yeah.
Do you understand that he does not care?
Yeah. You're fucking just fodder.
I hate Grandpa Nick. I love Sam Jackson. I hate Grandpa Nick.
Oh, it's fucking terrible.
I hate Grandpa Nick. Because that's all he does, is he just sits there and he's just like, oh, what a terrible thing to have happen. We'll have to figure out a solution. Is anybody getting sick on the space machine? We got to figure out a way to get all of these people off this space machine. How are we ever going to do that? We have to get there. We have to get there, because I do want to talk about what I liked about this movie, because there are moments I did like.
Don't tell me the singing planet.
We're gonna get there too.
Don't tell me that.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. I did like the stuff with Kamala Khan's family. I did like the stuff where the Kree are fighting in their house, and there's this whole war going on between these various set pieces. I thought that was fun. Maybe not directed great at times, but I thought it was fun. I like that the whole family got involved.
See, I compared that scene, though, to Blue Beetle. And that's where I was like... I mean, I loved that was our favorite
This didn't
part.
have Grandma pulling out a giant paddling gun.
That was fucking awesome. But that was... I mean, this was always our favorite part of the show of the Ms.
And I
Marvel.
think that they still captured that.
Yeah, no, they still did
that
good.
very, very well, and so I liked it here too.
Yeah.
I did like the Skrull planet. We're gonna get into some muddy waters again, because apparently, this whole fucking time, they had
a planet.
They haven't had a planet, except that they did.
They do have a planet.
Except that they have multiple planets, Steve. They tell us that they are on multiple worlds. So you do have another home.
Yes.
So you do have,
which makes Secret
somewhere else
Invasion
to go.
Completely unnecessary.
Fully a lie.
Yes.
Everything about Secret
Everything.
Invasion is a lie. None of it is true. None of it makes any sense anymore. It's just a full-bore lie.
And it's funny that this movie came out shortly after
Secret Invasion.
So it's like, why would you even do that?
And you know that Marvel has their finger in all these jars. It's not like they put on two different teams to figure this thing out. They said, hey, you got to make sure that you draw this line, and it's got to be there.
Yeah.
What was this? What was this? I don't understand this. This I don't get at all.
And it made it like the whole interactions with them was like something out of a bad Star Trek show. It was like,
I didn't mind the interactions with them and their emperor. Although again, if you have an emperor of the Skrull, that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
That should mean something more than just the local magistrate, which is what this guy kind of came off as. He didn't seem like he was the emperor of the Skrull.
No.
I do like that scene because that's that classic superhero quandary of when do you know you've lost?
Yes.
When do you have to just pack it in and say, that's it. I can't save any more people. I can't do any more. I love that scene for that moment where the Marvels are talking and Photon, and they just come in and just say, sometimes you have to understand that you can't save everyone. And there's a whole conversation about it. And I really, really like that, because that is what I come to superhero stuff for, is for the things that you can only tell in a superhero story. And, you know... The training sequence was fine. The banter between the three of them was fine. I didn't find any of those things annoying. I still love Iman Vellani. She buoys so many scenes for me, because any time where something could get annoying or boring, she comes in and just brings this life to the scene and excitement that's so genuine and real. And I'm like, thank you. This is why I love you as Kamala Khan, is because you are so thoroughly the character.
Yes.
You might write Marvel fan fiction yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I love it, and I love her portrayal.
And I'll agree with you that her interactions I enjoyed. I got really tired with the whole Photon holding it against Carol Danvers that she never came back to visit her or came back to, and I was like, dude.
Yeah.
Like that, like saying it once and maybe working through it, but they just kept going with it. And I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
Just get fucking over it, man. She obviously has been trying to save everyone in the universe.
Well, so this is another thing that I get confused by, because, you know, it's like the Marvels took a big rock and threw it in Cannon Lake.
Yeah.
And now there's these ripples that are coming out that I'm like, well, hang on a second. That changes everything. Because instead of just being a rock in the lake, it's a rock that now comes out of the lake. And it's like that celestial that we don't talk about that's just kind of sticking out of the world. Apparently, Carol overthrew the Kree Empire in 1994.
Yeah.
That feels like it hadn't happened in any of the movies before this. They don't talk about the Kree Empire having fallen. They talk about Ronan being a zealot.
Yes.
But they don't talk about the Kree Empire falling. Show in Guardians when he's talking to the Nova.
Talking to Nova saying, we have this...
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is.
That's true. That's fucking...
I don't know what that is. Because if the Kree Empire has been gone for almost 20 years, how come the Skrulls still have to live on Earth?
Yeah.
Because if the reason the Skrulls lost their planet wasn't Galactus, but it was the Kree, which is what you keep telling us.
Yes.
And the Kree Empire fell.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? So what the fuck? So who's in charge?
The worst thing about this movie is the villain. I'm sorry.
It is a very dull, nothing villain.
Not only is she dull and nothing, it's like...
She has no personality.
She has Ronan's hammer, but the only thing that gave Ronan's hammer power was that it had the Power Stone.
Because
it doesn't fucking have.
They went back and they rewrote stuff, because it used to be that the ultimate weapon did have a bunch of things that it could do, but you took all that out.
You took it all out. It was just a fucking hammer.
Yeah. And no, I agree, because like as much as I want to see an accuser, I'm really excited to see an accuser. I don't know. I get why they call her Supremor, but she's not Supremor.
No.
I can't emphasize this enough. She is not Supremor. She's an accuser, and an accuser can definitely run the Kree Empire. I've seen it.
Yeah.
And so like she can just be an accuser. That accuser is like the highest rank possible in the Kree Empire. And you're basically the forefinger of the Kree pointing and saying, you are not worthy. You will now join our empire. Like this idea that she's Supremor. I'm like, and also the idea that I'm glad that we got to see the Supreme Intelligence in his big blobby head form. Awesome. Love it. Great. I don't love that you refer to the Supreme Intelligence as an AI. That it, while technically true, is a gross simplification of what the Supreme Intelligence is. To anybody who doesn't know, the Supreme Intelligence is the combination of every great mind in Kree society since in memoriam. So they just keep on putting people's brains into this, and it leads their society. It's not an AI. It's kind of like an AI, but it's not an AI in the fact that it was alive at one point and made up of multiple individuals. So it's not an AI. But sure, it's an AI. And it runs their entire empire. Sure.
Sure.
I don't mind that the Kree planet fell. Again, I have issues with canon because it doesn't feel like that was a thing that was in the whole plot of this whole arc until now, that the Kree Empire had fallen. I love the scene of her coming in and destroying the Kree Empire, and I love the whole feel of that, and like how they I can't remember the name that they have for her, but they have some name for her and all these other things. Destroyer or something like that. I like this in concept. Executionally, there's some problems here.
And that's the thing. It's like even parts that I would say didn't make me physically want to vomit, they're wrapped in this narrative that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that's why I couldn't even like kind of lap onto those moments, because it's like I know that a hunk of dog shit's coming right around the corner.
Well, and I don't know how. Like, I get the idea of why Hela is still around as a planet.
Yeah.
That Hala is around because it needs to be, basically. So people are still living there, even though it has apparently no atmosphere, no water, and no sun. I don't know how anyone is living there with just some PPE masks, but sure, why not? I don't mind the idea of revitalizing the planet. I think that's interesting. I think that you have a natural problem understanding what Captain Marvel's power levels are. Because
they've had that problem since day one.
It's always been a problem.
Yes.
It has always been a problem. They don't know how to do it. They made her unstoppable, and then they were like, I don't know what to do. And that's still...
kind of the same problem with the Scarlet Witch. They didn't really know how to do her powers.
Yeah.
And they're still trying to figure it out.
But they depowered her instead. Carol, they left her powers as is, which is great, but they don't know how to use them. And so it just becomes the situation where this is... I saw Captain Marvel again leading up to this. I liked it more than I did the first time. I thought that the plotting and pacing was better than I remembered it. The Nick Fury de-aging stuff didn't bother me as much, and the Maria Rambeau stuff is really fun. I get to the third act of that movie, and I'm still like, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to make this fight sequence interesting or captivating in any way. And so you just turn it into a message at the end. And it just comes into nothing. And I always go back to, if this was how Tony Stark or Captain America or Spider-Man finished off one of their stories, you would be like, what the fuck is this power trip nonsense? What is going on? And I get it. It's apples to oranges. It's a different situation. But I think you still need to write a good ending. It can't just be, I'm unstoppable, I'm the juggernaut. You know, it's just, there has to be something.
Yeah.
There has to be something. And not for nothing, Carol has fought Ronan, and it has been a close fight because of the ultimate weapon. So I'm just saying, it's there. You didn't use it, and I don't know why, but it's there. Anyway, back to this movie.
But I'm glad you saw the message thing, because that was also, like, I think the problem, once again, the problem Marvel has and a lot of studios have, it's you go too far into, like, I'm 1,000% behind, like, women power with, I had the problem in Endgame where it's like, you got to have all the female superheroes.
I like that moment.
No, it's not a bad moment, but it's just it seems forced. You know what I mean? And in here you have,
it's pandering.
Exactly. Thank you. That's a good word. But you have the 3 female leads who work great together. But then you have a female bad guy, and then your big character that has a tie into the other movies is Valkyrie, which I love Valkyrie.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
well, then again, this is again something that they haven't earned. They tell us that Valkyrie and Carol are friends.
When the fuck?
Carol hasn't been on Earth. You keep telling us that Carol hasn't been on Earth. When did that happen?
Like, if there was anyone that she seemed to get along with, was fucking Thor.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a chance to have a little cameo from a Marvel person that would make sense.
And you can bring back Fat Thor, which I know will make you just so happy. No, but I just...
But once again, I don't know where this happened in the timeline.
That's also true.
3, or Thor the...
Thor the good Thor.
Yeah.
Thor the funny Thor.
The fuck you, Thor.
Thor the funny Thor, quote unquote funny. No, I like a lot of this movie because the look and the fight scenes are good. There are moments, right, where you have the fight scene on the singing planet, which we're gonna talk about the singing planet. You have the fight scene on the singing planet where I just kept on being like, Carol, just take control of the situation instead of fucking around and trying to solve all the problems. Just take leadership and figure out the situation. And I get it, that's part of the storytelling, right? Is that Carol has to learn and grow into that stage because she hasn't had to do that before. She's used to running around and solving all the problems at once. She's not used to delegating. But there were just a lot of moments where I was just like, Carol, I swear to God, you just need to stop, look around, assess the situation, and ask for someone's help. Now we get into the parts of the movie where I was like, what the fuck is happening? What the fuck is happening here? The singing planet. While we're here, let's just talk about it. I don't mind the conceit of the singing planet. I like the scene for the most part. I think it's funny and interesting. The moment she magically changes clothes, I was like, what the fuck is happening? I'm not even sorry, but what the fuck is happening? And then all 3 of them come out in new costumes that they got from this. What the fuck is happening?
No, it was, I hated the scene.
And
I love musicals. If there's any male on this planet that loves musicals as much as I do, it'd be a miracle, like you.
Yeah.
But I love musicals, and this part was, I hated every fucking, because it just, once again, it was a poor attempt at, like, changing the tone of a movie that already kind of had tones all over the place.
It was all over the place tonally.
And so it's like, it just was odd. Like,
it was supposed to be this respite from the action, and it was supposed to be funny and charming. And I think it got there somewhat, but just as a scene, it was so polarized to the point where Polaris, Photon, is kind of like, what the fuck is going on? What's happening?
Yeah.
And Kamala Khan's like, you need to loosen up. Cut to Photon seemingly drunk, like just living it up, having a great time. I was like, when did this happen?
Yeah.
When was that?
It was so fucking weird.
Yeah,
man.
no, there were just a lot of moments. I will never get over that weird costume change where it has like a bippity boppity blue, like just like star come up on her chest, and suddenly she's in this dress, and I'm like, no, but what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
There needs to be some kind of like, this is unacceptable. This is not okay. You can't make movies this way. This is not okay.
Yeah.
And then they do the same thing that they did with the scene that I like before, but they don't follow through with it, where they say, we can save the planet only so much, we gotta bail. Kamala Khan makes a decision for the entire team that they're gonna bail, and Photon and Captain Marvel are just like, yeah, cool, I agree. Nobody is like, no, we could have done more. Nobody has any other opinions. Everybody's just like, yeah, I guess that kind of sucks. Oh, well, we're going to move on.
She is literally the queen,
of that planet.
It's like, dude, you're actually the queen of the fucking planet.
Like, you can't. You can't. You just can't.
No! Like the Skrull planet. Fuck. I mean, they're Skrulls and you like them, but you're the queen of this fucking planet of happy people singing.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, fuck it.
Fuck it, I'm gone. And just that was a scene where, like, I get what they were trying to do, but the execution on it was not. It was good. Not good. No, it was not good. I think this leads us to the Flurkin. I think we finally. Oh wait, no. Before we get to the Flurkin, we have to talk about the power bands, because the cosmic bands are finally introduced. The power bands that I've been waiting for from the Kree are finally introduced. Supposedly, they were introduced in Miss Marvel.
Yes.
And I do think they say that the power band is from the Kree at some point in the show. I do seem to remember that being brought up in the show, is that it was a Kree artifact of some kind. Why the fuck can't the Kree use the power bands? They can't use the power bands because it disintegrates their bodies. Why? Yeah. But why?
That makes no sense.
You invented it. It's your thing. Why? But why? But why? Yeah. What was the point of introducing the Jinn as a brand new race in the first place? Because I don't see one. It doesn't seem to be one. It seems to be that the going theory in this movie is that if you have both, you can use them. Or if you have both and you're of the specific descent, you can use them. None of that is really spelled out. No. It's kind of subtly implied at times, but I would also argue that having watched Miss Marvel, it is equally able to see that it's not necessarily that if you have both or if you're of a certain lineage, you can use them. They say that they are drawn together.
Yes.
So they will pull towards each other, which we've seen on a bunch of different cosmic items in Marvel Comics. So why can Kamala Khan use them and Dar-Ben, the villain, can't?
No. Yeah. That didn't make any sense.
This doesn't make any fucking sense. Yeah. To the point where Dar-Ben uses them, tears a hole in reality, and then Kamala Khan just slaps him on, no problem, and is like, let's do this thing, baby. And I'm just like, what? Yeah. What the fuck is happening?
A human girl.
Well, no, she's a Jinn girl.
Oh, that's right. She's a Jinn girl.
Because she's not Inhuman anymore.
That's true.
She's Jinn now. She's from another dimension.
That is true.
A different dimension made out of light, which is why her powers are also different, Steve. Because that's cool, right? We're just going to change all of her powers, and that's going to be fine.
You're giving me an ulcer.
So now we got to get the Flurkins. Oh. You thought you had an ulcer before. We haven't even got the Flurkins yet.
This is the moment. You talk about this in a lot of movies. This is the moment where they're going to sell products.
Yeah. This is the ad campaign. And I hated this scene. This was a scene that I knew was coming because they had hinted very heavily that Flurkins were going to be a significant part of the plot, and I was not happy about it. And I feel like at this point, it's important to go back and remind everybody how we are introduced to Flurkins in the first place.
Yes.
Flurkins, when they are first introduced, are introduced to us via Talos the Skrull freaking the fuck out that he is standing within 5 feet of one.
Yes.
Freaking out. Okay? And this goes for all the Skrulls. None of the Skrulls are happy about this cat situation. Yes. All of them are deeply upset about it. So, funny story, Flurkins reproduce via eggs. Because of course they do.
Of course they do.
And so now there's all these eggs all over the space station. Where do all these eggs come from? I'm so confused. I don't understand. The space station starts losing power because of plot reasons. And you're like, okay, so now we have a bunch of people on the space station that need to get back off the space station. And we have a bunch of Flurkins.
But we only have, 4 escape pods.
But we only have 4 escape pods for some reason. Even though you have all of these people working on this space station.
And we know the space station has teleportation, didn't it? No.
It has, those big space tubes that shoots up and down.
At the end of Secret Invasion, it came down. Yeah.
But, there should be more escape pods. There should be a lot of everything. I think at one point they say some of the escape pods aren't working or they only have power to 4 of them. There's some stupid thing that they say. Yeah. And all of it is moot because I'll explain what they do and then I'll explain what they should have done. So what they do is they take these brand new, freshly hatched babies
who don't know shit.
And remind me, when babies are freshly born, are they usually like chill and relaxed, or do they want to eat?
Yes.
And they're hungry.
Yes.
Like really hungry. Like that's the whole thing with babies, is that they gotta eat. So Nick Fury's plan is to have all of the people be eaten by the Flurkins.
And then puked up when they
get home. And you think this is going to work? Why?
Yeah.
And then on top of it, all of the sword agents are freaking out. Yeah. They're all scared to death of what's happening. And I'm just like, what is supposed to be going on in this scene?
And it's like, they don't even have them wearing, like, breathers or anything.
Nothing!
Like, so you're going to be inside this creature.
You don't know what's in there.
Yeah, you don't even know how you can fit in there. Like,
and most of these are fresh kittens who are going to be hungry. None of these people are going to be digested. None of these people are going to be digested. This is what your argument is?
It's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
That's the dumbest fucking
It made me so mad, Steve. Yeah. It made me so mad. This was Trevor Slattery all over again. Of just like, we were going and, you know, there were problems. Not everything was perfect, but we were going. And then you did this. And then you did this. And why did you do it? Because now it's ruined everything. I can't have any goodwill for you anymore because you ruined it. You took this moment and you ruined everything that came beforehand. And now I can't think about anything else afterwards either. This is how I'm going to remember the entire movie from now on. Is the stupid Flurkin space station. You know what they should have done? Captain Marvel can power engines.
Yeah.
We see her do it on numerous occasions. All she has to do is go to the engine and go.
Yeah.
And it turns on.
Yeah.
This is so dumb.
Well, they wanted the goofy comedy toy.
Yeah.
This is what it was.
And it ruined the movie for me.
And what's great is we just saw last week the proper use of that with the baby Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And here we're seeing the absolute worst.
It actually impacts the plot directly.
Oh, absolutely.
And irreversibly.
Like, I mean, we've already hated the Flurkins because it ruined the whole how Nick Fury lost his eye.
Yeah.
By fucking, what's the name of the lead Flurkin?
Goose
scratches his fucking eye
because
out.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
References from the 80s.
So fucking bad.
I'm so tired of this, Steve.
And I'll be honest, though. Before the whole Flurkin conversation, you had brought up something where Captain Marvel is, like, having a hard time dealing with delegating and realizing, like, her powers and stuff. If you think about it, she's had her powers now for over 40 years.
Longer than almost anyone in Marvel canon.
Yes.
Longer than the Hulk.
And you're telling me she would be going through these issues 40 plus years into her run?
Banner has figured out how to become Brain Hulk, Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
In that time. Carol has been around longer and had her powers longer.
And has seen more.
And she somehow doesn't know how to delegate tasks.
Yeah. That was the part that really bugged me.
Yeah.
Because when you think about how long she's actually been Captain Marvel and
she should be better at this than this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She showed better than it in the Avengers movies.
Yes.
And so it's like, and now you're just like, and that's the part that really pissed me off because you have once again your opportunity for this, the ultimate strongest Marvel character, and it just happens to be a woman. You have your chance, and you're going to make her insecure, and you're going to make her, not really feel comfortable. And it's like, no!
And she's not a leader.
She's not a leader.
She's not a leader.
No, dude! She is the ultimate fucking...
Yeah.
It's like she is the female Captain America, goddammit.
Yeah.
She has had her powers as long as he's been Captain America.
She should be a cosmic Captain America.
Absolutely.
That's what Captain Marvel is in canon.
Yes.
She is a cosmic level Captain America.
Yes.
More than Major Victory, she is a cosmic level Captain America.
More like him to where, yes, he has some insecurities when it comes to dealing with people because he was asleep in the ice for so long. She could have that because she's been out in space, like dealing with other humans. But when it comes to doing the fucking job,
she's still used to other alien cultures and other things.
Exactly.
She doesn't know how to do stuff, but she knows how to do this.
Yeah. When she's doing her job, there's fucking no one better.
And I think that was another issue towards the end for me, was that you have made Carol into this unstoppable force. How do you have a decent fight with her now with allies, where she has two fairly powerful allies? And I get it, they have this whole teleportation thing, but it's supposed to be played off at this point as a boon to them. They figured out how to use it in their fight sequences. And I'm just supposed to sit here like, but she's so powerful. How is she not just vaporizing this whole ship and throwing Darbin into the sun?
I mean, to me, it reminded me a lot of the Superman quandary, where they kind of played it the right way at the end of the Justice League movie, where when he's fighting, what's the big douchebag in Justice League, the bad guy, Steppenwolf.
Yes.
When he goes in against, they're all getting their asses kicked. Superman comes in, it's almost like no problem.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill him. And this
was the reason why nobody touched Earth, was because Superman was here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what she should have fucking been. It's like, but I mean, we had this issue with Thanos and all that shit. It's like,
yeah,
she really, and once again, in fucking Endgame, she destroys ships and shit. Well, but then when it comes to certain scenes, she gets her ass kicked. It's like, no, dude.
And in the comics, the way that they deal with this is by having Carol be emotionally damaged because of her powers. She either feels like she can't connect with normal people, or there's canons where she's an alcoholic. She has split personality disorder. Like, things happen to Carol because of this level of power and trying to control and manifest it in a positive way. We get none of that. No. She's just the most powerful being in the world, and no one can stop her except maybe Darbin for like 5 minutes, but mostly because she has allies around. I guess if she didn't have allies around, she could blow up the ship and throw Darbin into the sun and solve all of her problems. But again, we see she goes and restarts the Kree sun. So what is the problem?
She restarts a fucking sun.
So what is the problem?
That is true. I forgot about that. It's like,
and I'm just like, by the end of this movie, I'm just like, you can throw Hank McCoy at me, and I will be thrilled because it's Hank McCoy, and you have Maria Rambeau as binary. That's awesome. That's so fucking dope. I love that. That's so cool. Doesn't make up for some of the terrible decisions you made in the last 20 minutes of this movie.
I'm sorry. Why that Kelsey Grammer, Hank McCoy? It's like,
because he's iconic.
Yeah, in the worst fucking X-Men movie, he was iconic. It's like, just get Nicholas Hoult to fucking do it.
That would have been good if they got Nick Hoult to do it. Because all they have to do is the voice, right? That's it.
You can't tell me
all they need is the voice.
They can't throw a bunch of money at him. And even if, this is long before he got Lex Luthor in the Superman movie, so he was doing, maybe doing prep for Van Helsing.
That's why. He's not hairy enough right now. He can't play Beast. He's not hairy enough, Steve.
He can't play the CGI.
He's bald.
He can't be the CGI Beast.
Steve, he's bald. Oh, how could he play Hank McCoy?
Once again, this movie, it was shooting during COVID.
Yeah.
The last thing I saw him in was Van Helsing, which I think got shot after that.
Van Helsing or Renfield?
Or Renfield, Renfield. I keep saying Van Helsing, Renfield.
I was like, I didn't think he was in a Van Helsing movie.
He hasn't really done much. It's like, you can't tell me he wasn't like, all right, I'll do.
He was in that horror movie, The Menu, that I'm kind of vaguely interested in, with Taylor-Joy and Ray Fiennes.
That was actually
I need to see it. I haven't watched it yet, but
even that, he didn't really have much to do. He was more of kind of a, Anna Taylor-Joy and Ray Fiennes were mainly the lead characters in that. But it's like, dude, why get the fucking worst one?
Yeah. I don't mind, because I don't mind that iteration of Beast. He was also technically in the Days of Future Past. So technically speaking, he does have credentials. I don't mind. I've never minded Kelsey Grammer as Beast. I've actually thought he was a pretty good fit for Beast, because he has the right voice, he has the right demeanor, and he's Sideshow Bob. Come on.
But he's just the main problem I have with it is, where are you going to go with it? Because he's fucking old now.
But he doesn't need to play physical Beast.
No, but even the voice, we saw with Harrison Ford with the de-aging, it's like, you can tell when you're just, he still has it, he still has the voice, but it's like, why pick a guy that's I think he's in his 70s?
Well, is any of this actually going to matter?
Who knows?
Is any of this actually going to build to anything?
Who knows?
Because we were sitting here complaining about how Secret Invasion was dumb, and apparently Marvel agreed, because they just punted the whole series out.
Yeah.
They were just like, never mind, it's not canon, don't worry about it.
And this movie bombed so goddamn bad, I don't know if they're even going to do anything with the ending.
Well, it seems like their whole plan is to do a incursion event, and that's how the two universes are going to...
And that's the thing, is I don't even know what their plan is now.
Yeah.
With as bad as all their movies and franchises have done, and with everything going on with Kang and them having to take a left turn, who fuck knows what they're doing?
Well, what's the next one on the docket? The next one is Deadpool 3, which isn't technically. It is and it's not.
Yeah.
It has a foot in the kiddie pool and a foot in the deep end. Which one is it? I don't know. We're going to find out.
I mean, after Deadpool 3, I really couldn't tell you. I know Fantastic Four is...
They keep talking about it, but they only just cast it.
Yeah.
Like, they can't even have a script at this point, let alone a director and everything ready to go. That movie's not coming out for another 2 years at least.
Like, I really don't know. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is... Well, no, the Captain America, the...
Oh, World Police or whatever it is, yeah. Harrison Ford as Red Hulk.
Maybe.
Yay! He is 100%.
Oh, they have...
Well, they have shots of him in torn up pants. This movie comes down to a B- for me because the parts of it that I do like, I genuinely really like. Amon Vellani is so good, and Brie Larson... is always fun to have on set. And she just brings this lightness and mirth to the character that I do enjoy. I do wish that she had more of a depth to her personality rather than just kind of being the surface level thing on all of these fronts. She has a bunch of different surface level tacks, but that's it. She doesn't have anything deeper than any of those ideas. I thought that Photon, Teyana Paris was fine. She, I think, had some directing issues with some of the delivery that she had at various times,
and it was just too whiny about the whole Aunt Karen thing.
Yeah,
like that really started bugging me after a while.
Well, and it doesn't help when you have Lashana Lynch as her mom giving a much better performance in like the 2 scenes she's in. So that doesn't help anybody at that point.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's bad, but of the 3, she is the lowest on the tree.
Oh yeah.
I hate Grandpa Nick. The Prince of the Singing Planet was fine. Okay. But the whole Singing Planet makes no fucking sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Is this literally a Marvel or Disney movie where magic exists on this one planet? I don't understand. And you're not going to make any attempts to help me understand. And then the whole Flurkin thing. So, like, I can't give it over B-.
This is a hard F for me. And I hated this movie from start to finish. I can see the things that you are saying, but once again, if they could have, for me, strung together multiple scenes that were good, but for me it went from bad to good to bad, and so even the good got washed away by bad. And the acting, once again, the Nick Fury thing pissed me off. The Flurkins pissed me off. I didn't like the post-credit scene. So it's just like...
See, I like the post-credit scene. That also helped, is that it ended on a positive note for me, because I like the post-credit scene.
But once again, I think the thing I didn't like about the post-credit scene, well, I did have issues with Kelsey Grammer, but I know that it's not going to go anywhere.
This is the thing, is that ultimately it's a lollipop on your way out of the doctor's office. Does this actually mean anything? Or is this just to help me feel better about what happened?
This is a lot of what we're going to talk about with the next movie. Because it's exactly the same thing where it's like, we know it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So what the fuck's the point?
Why are we doing this like it's going somewhere?
And I want... Because I think I liked Captain Marvel more than you did. I understand its issues, and I'm not giving it a pass on its issues.
Yeah. My grade definitely went up. It went from like a C+ to like a B. I still have issues with it, and I still think that the third act of that movie needs to be done with a defter hand than it is. But overall, I like it. I think that there's more positives than negatives.
See, I'm like in a B+ range. Yeah. I agree with you on the Nick Fury de-aging. I think the Coulson one was laughably bad.
The thing that really bugs me is how badly the Skrulls have been handled just start to finish.
Oh, they're terrible.
Just start to finish now. It's just from Captain Marvel all the way through to this current iteration, it's always been done poorly.
Yep.
And the more you watch it, the more you're like, Jesus Christ. Well,
and it's just, to me, like, there are certain villains that you really need. And I still, to this day, they should never have introduced the Skrulls without having the Fantastic Four. To me, all the years I read comic books, they were like hand in hand to me.
I think that
I know they were in other areas, but it's like, to me, it was always a big thing, especially leading into like Secret Invasion, which they completely fucked up.
This movie to me would be more interesting if you had someone like Terrax or Firelord as the villain.
Firelord
herald,
would be awesome.
A herald of Galactus.
And that way you can introduce Galactus.
And now there's something bigger on the horizon.
Thank you.
A bigger danger to be worried about. And you can also rewrite the Skrull thing. You can be like, that's what Talos said happened, but what actually happened was that Galactus destroyed the planet.
Yeah.
And then the Kree came, and instead of helping us, they made things worse.
Who was the Harry Styles at the end of Eternals?
Oh, Star Fox.
Star Fox.
Eros.
But it's like, I don't know. I just, you're right though. They could have done so many.
I think if you have a better villain,
Yeah.
because the villain ends up being the Kree Empire again, but because they've muddied the water so badly on what happened with the Kree, you end up being kind of like, I get what you're doing, but it also doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I would ultimately just like a villain that's more interesting, less schemy. You know, I want a force of nature. Captain Marvel is a force of nature.
And I wouldn't have minded a darker tone in the movie. Like, I understand they want the humor and with the water planet and all that, but it's like, the thing that I appreciate a lot about these earlier Marvel movies that I'm watching now is they did have a darker tone. They did have a little bit of comedy, but now it's like, okay, how can we really make it funny? Like, the family, as much as we love them, they are comic relief.
Yeah.
And, you know, Kamala Khan, she's awesome, but also she does a lot of comedy, and it's like, they just are trying to really
that's the
lighten
problem.
these movies.
Everybody does comedy.
Everyone does.
That's the problem. Nick Fury is funny. The people on the Shield base are funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sword base.
Sword base,
are
thank you.
funny. Why is the Sword name classified? That doesn't make any
Doesn't
fucking
make any
sense.
sense.
Why would the name of Sword be classified? Who the fuck cares?
And that's what made Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, so special, is because that was the first comedy in the MCU.
Well, and it also balances the comedy because there's several straight men. So you have Star-Lord and Rocket, who are making a lot of jokes and a lot of funny references. Then you have Gamora, who's playing it straight.
Yep.
You have Drax, who's playing it straight as a joke.
Yes.
You have Groot, who plays it both straight and for comedy.
Yes.
So there's an actual balance to what role each character has. It'd be like if you had the Ninja Turtles and all of them were Michelangelo. And you're like, but like that's not the point. We need the seriousness of Raph and the leadership of Leo.
It was kind of the problem of Ghostbusters 2016, where you didn't have the Ray and the Egon, who were the straight men.
Yeah.
And then you had the comedian with Bill
Everybody
Murray.
Was
Everyone
funny.
was trying to be funny.
Everybody,
and it didn't work.
Everybody had to have 5 minutes to do their tight five, and it just gets exhausting.
Exactly.
It just gets exhausting after a while.
And that's the thing I've noticed the most of these early Marvel movies, is they really are not funny. They have a couple funny moments.
Happy's not funny. In the first 3 Iron Man movies, until he's watching Downton Abbey, Happy is not funny. Arguably, I guess in Monte Carlo, you could argue some of the stuff.
But also when he has like the pass, but that's just him being a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's just tapping the pass at the beginning of the movie. That's him trying to be funny.
Yeah.
But like, that's 3 movies in. When we first meet Happy, you know what the first lines he says are? Of course, sir. Because Tony's making some joke about how he's going too slow around the corners. You didn't take Mulholland or whatever.
But even Tony Stark, he wasn't really funny. He just had some smart ass remarks.
He's just a snark.
Yeah.
He's just a snark.
Exactly.
And like, I'm so exhausted by how everybody has to be funny now.
It's
like how
annoying.
all of the references, there have to be multiple references to the 80s. This is not how you write a movie, guys. No. This is like, look at Stranger Things and understand that what you're doing is wrong. There is a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this, and you are doing it dramatically the wrong way.
And this just proves they've never read the comic books, because the comic books are not funny.
No.
They're fucking serious. Like, they're literature. That's why we appreciate them so much. Yeah. They're fucking literature.
What's going to happen, because now they're talking about doing Civil War 2, because that's how you fix a problem, is you do it again. So now they're talking about doing Civil War 2. The plot of Civil War 2 is that Carol and Tony have a fundamental disagreement on whether you have to wait for someone to commit a crime to arrest them. How is this version of Carol going to lead that conversation?
And they already have done that with fucking the Winter Soldier, with the whole I can't remember the name of the program with the helicarriers.
Yeah.
But it's like, they already kind of did that, where it's like, oh, well, we're going to stop them before it happens. It's like, well, that's not freedom. It's like, well, that's fucking kind of what they already did.
Yeah.
So
but now there's going to be a superhero that can tell you if someone's going to do something evil.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Minority Report with Carol and maybe the Hulk. Who's going to take over for Tony?
I don't know.
Pepper? Who's going to be on the other side of that
Tony's
conversation?
daughter?
Like, what is the actual plan here?
I don't know.
I don't get it.
Like, it's such a fucking cluster, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Like, I am biased. Like how you're biased positively for Spider-Man and the Spiderverse things.
Yeah.
I am biased in the negative for everything MCU, because it has made us so mad
Yeah.
And it's done so many bad things that I grade it harsher than almost anything.
Well, the problem is that now it's a matter of record. The way that your record reflects how you do things is incredibly important, because now I can look back and say, but is this going to be closer to She-Hulk or is this going to be closer to Winter Soldier? Because a lot of the stuff has been closer to She-Hulk, where you have these little moments which are good and then these big moments which suck.
Yeah.
And then you're just left being like, I mostly remember the big moments that suck.
Yeah.
Not the little moments that I really like. I'm trying so hard to hang on to those moments because I do genuinely like them. I cannot overstate how much I like Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel. I think she is so good in this role. If they had cast Peter Parker this well, I would be over the moon. So excited. They have cast her so perfectly, and she fits the role so well. And I can't get over how good she is. And that buoys a lot of the bad scenes, because when you're dealing with Grandpa Nick, if he's dealing with Kamala Khan, it's slightly less annoying because Kamala Khan is really great. And so when he's babying Photon or being just Grandpa Nick in general, you're just like, I hate this. But when it's Kamala Khan, you're like, okay, this is a little bit better. This is a little bit better.
I don't know. So let's hope. Okay, so let's move on.
So
to the most pointless movie ever made.
If you want to talk about a pointless movie,
Aquaman The Lost Empire.
A movie that tries really, really hard not to be pointless, but is pointless.
This movie truly is everything wrong with superhero movies in one movie.
I desperately want to know the backstory of this movie. Like, not the backstory to the story. I want to know the production side of this movie.
Yeah, kind of like what they did in Tropic Thunder, where they won an award for the making of the worst movie. Yes, almost like what's the Johnny Depp Don Quixote one?
Oh,
Lost in La Mancha?
Something
Isn't
like
that the documentary about the making of this movie that never happened?
I think so.
Yeah.
But like, I just want to know so many things about the production of this movie. I want to know about the stuff with Amber Heard first and foremost,
which is really blatant.
I don't
she
get
obviously was cut out of.
I don't get it. It doesn't. She must have had this iron contract that they could not get out of, because they fully write her out of the movie. But she's such an integral character to the story, and you're just left being like, then why didn't you recast her? And just have her in the movie? So there had to have been some contractual thing that kept them from being able to recast her.
Brutally obvious that there was zero chemistry between her and Jason Momoa.
Nobody wanted to be on screen with her.
No, not even a little bit.
No. And like, but why is she in this movie?
I don't get it.
Mira is such an important character to Aquaman's storyline. Why didn't you just recast her?
I don't get that either.
Get it. I just don't understand. So there has to be something there where there must be. There just must be.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, also, you got to remember when this first started shooting, because this was going on for a long time, the whole trial hadn't happened yet. And so she was still on the side of Johnny Depp's in Monster. And then while they're shooting it is where the change happened, and the whole movie was probably done to the point where they were like, we can't just reshoot everything she did, so the cheapest thing would just be cut
her out of the whole movie, and
especially because by that time they also had the James Gunn taking over and saying, well, this movie doesn't mean shit. So,
and you can tell James Wan checks out halfway through this movie. He's done with this whole thing,
dude.
And everybody besides Momoa. I think Momoa is the only earnest
Jason Momoa. I hate the fact that he was in the shit movie.
He's so earnest, and he's the only one that's earnest in the entire movie.
Yes.
And his performance is great. I love when he's talking about just slapping people, and it's just like, this is wonderful. What the fuck is going on with Black Manta's crew?
Dude.
Why are they wearing the costumes from Planet of the Vampires? What's happening? Is this a reference, or is this just accidental? Why did you choose this look?
I don't.
You had 6 months. What is this? What is happening?
But this is similar to what we've talked about with the characters in Marvel. They're going out of their way to ruin Black Manta.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, he is one of my favorite characters in the DC as far as villains go, and they've done a great job fucking him up.
Whenever he shows up, Manta is so cool. He's so cool.
Yeah.
Call him fucking Manta.
Yeah.
His name is Manta. You don't have to call him Black Manta, but you have to call him Manta. And they don't. They refer to him as, John? Like, the whole movie, they're like, what's John doing? What's going on with John? And I'm just like, what are you talking about, John? What is happening here? This man is Manta. I will know him as Manta. But they basically just call him John for the entire movie. And so they're like, oh, we have to stop John before he does something he'll regret. What the fuck are you talking about? Call him Manta. He tells you his name at the end of the movie. His name is Manta. Yeah. Call him fucking Manta. And just, I don't mind the whole Black Trident thing or Black Quadrant, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It was
all right. It's fine. I've seen this story done better.
And honestly, the design of that villain,
it was just
it looked a lot like, do you remember when Aragon,
I was about to say the Ghost King.
It was him.
It's the Ghost King.
It was absolutely him.
They just straight up stole the Ghost King and they replaced the parts of him that are white with a blackish gray.
Yes.
And it's the Ghost King.
Thank you for saying that. Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's fucking...
It's the Ghost King. Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. Yes. And just like, you have these stupid scenes, the whole thing with Orm. What the fuck is going on? Dude, the Orm thing was so
dumb. And he's running and he doesn't know how to
run. I hated that scene.
His arms.
I hated that scene where Aquaman has to teach him to run and he suddenly runs like Usain Bolt. I hate this. I hate this so much.
Every part about Orm was terrible. All the way to the ending.
Except for Patrick Wilson's performance, where he's trying to give this earnest performance in this terrible movie.
Oh my god.
And it's terrible. The whole thing, I'm not gonna criticize you for the whole thing where he's in the middle of the Sahara Desert and then they have to rescue him, and as soon as
they did it in the first movie.
As soon as he touches water, he's revitalized. Fine, whatever.
Alright, Percy Jackson.
Yeah. What the fuck is going on with the octopus? Hang on, everybody stop. What the fuck is going on with the octopus?
That was just dumb.
What the fuck is this thing?
That was really fucking dumb.
And how does it exist? And it's glistening all the time.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
And it seems like anytime they've written themselves into a corner, like, just have the octopus run in and do something. It's
the octopus saves them.
Yeah.
What? What do you mean the octopus saves them? What the fuck is this shit? Someone stand up and be accountable for what is happening here.
And the funny part is we're going in all this stuff. We haven't talked about the baby peeing and directing it at his dad, so it hits him in the face. It's like,
hits him in the mouth.
Hits him in the mouth. Yeah.
Mira squirts him in the mouth with baby pee,
and it's like, dude.
And just like I like the idea of seeing Jason Momoa as a dad.
Yeah, that was cool. And him and his dad, him and Boba Fett, with the baby was cool.
But also, that baby is so white. I just kept on being like, man, that is the whitest baby I've ever seen. This baby is 90% Mira and 10% Aquaman.
Yeah. That's Nicole Kidman's grandson.
Yeah.
And Nicole Kidman sucked in this movie. Like, I liked her in the first
one. Like everybody, she's just sleepwalking through this.
Barely.
It's like all of the heights of Aquaman, where it's just funny and silly and crazy.
Yeah.
Where you have the craziness of Atlantis and all of the bonkers nature of everything that happens there. And the way that the fights go, the octopus playing the drums, the people riding sharks and seahorses, Dolph Lundgren showing up and being like an actual guy that you care about as a character and you're interested in, you're not just laughing at him because he's Dolph Lundgren, even though that would be the thing to do. The fact that you have Ocean Master's costume from the comics and Aquaman's costume from the comics, and they're perfect.
Yeah.
It's so good. And you do the ocean at the center of the earth, fine. That's fine. Whatever. I don't care. I'm not gonna pick a fight with you over that. All of those wonderful things, when they show up here, is so tawdry and terrible and tacky.
Including Gimli Crab.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, poor John Rhys Davies. I hope he made a lot of money doing the voice work on this.
I just couldn't with that.
It was terrible.
It was not fucking funny. And it was so full of Marvel humor. Of just like, we gotta have something funny happen.
It took me a while to grow my arm back. Oh, I lost my arm again. Oh! I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Is this what's actually happening?
Yes.
Is this what's happening?
Oh my God.
They had the whole thing about like, oh, the barrier wall is so important and nobody can breach it. Except if we just breach it because we want to and it's not a problem. It's all the things that you just told us, none of them happen. And I was so not impressed with so many elements of this movie. It's not that it's bad, it's that it's nothing. It's just a nothing movie.
It's so
the
shit.
things that I remember coming out of this movie are not the cool moment where X, Y, or Z happens, right? There are cool moments. I'm sure there are cool moments. I don't remember any of them. I just remember the things that I couldn't explain when I was watching it. What the hell is going on with Randall Park's whole character? What is this? What is happening?
It was ridiculous.
What is going on with all these people on the submarines? Why are they so fervently working for Black Manta? Why does he have all of this ancient tech that looks like shit, but is apparently working fine?
Yeah.
Why is all of these things happening?
Randall Park figured out how to make it work in like a day.
It wasn't the magic of the trident that allowed it to work. It was Randall Park figuring it out.
A human, after thousands of years of this ancient alien, let's just say it's alien technology, and he figures it out in a day.
Yeah.
It's like Jeff Goldblum giving a spaceship a cold.
Yeah.
It's like the same kind of thing. You're like, dude, how the fuck
fuck are you talking about?
It didn't make any goddamn sense.
And it reeks so much of that line that I've used for Marvel movies on many occasions, which is, you go back to Robot Chicken, and it's Luke and Darth fighting, and Darth says, I am your father, and no! Oh, you think that's bad? And he just keeps on talking about the dumb decisions, and he gets the midichlorians, and Luke says, look, if you're not going to take this seriously, I'm out of here. And that's how I felt about this movie. I was like, look, if you're not going to take this seriously, then I don't need to be here. Like, I appreciate that they had the moment. I think they had a moment in this one where they talked about how Superman couldn't save the day because he was off doing something.
Or some shit.
So, yeah, you did that. Good. Yeah. Congratulations. I'm glad that you did a proofread on your paper before turning it in. There's just so many moments where I was just like, nobody's gonna know. The world's burning. Nobody's gonna talk about it. Nobody notices this island in the Pacific that is spewing green smoke into the sky and has, we are told, have massive readings of climate change just coming from this one island and the mutations of all the animals. There are satellites, man. Like, I get it. You can't see it locally. It doesn't show up on radar locally. We have satellites that rotate the planet. You have to be able... You can see the Great Wall of China, but not this giant plume of sickly green smoke coming out of this volcano.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to check on this?
It was like a Bond villain thing where it's like, you know, the volcano layer and it has all this stuff, but nobody knows where the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And this was the volcano layer.
Yeah.
This was the James Bond villain volcano layer.
There were just there were too many moments like that.
And it was, the thing that really made me sick to my stomach, though, was the insane overuse of CGI.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was...
Super
It was
CGI
a bad cartoon.
Yeah.
It was so much fucking CGI. It's like, dude, I know the first one used a lot also... But they also, you know, they used a lot of scenes on land where they could use practical effects.
A lot of the action sequences in the second act of that movie take place on land.
Yeah. In Italy with Mantis going after them and all that. Yeah.
In the Sahara when they were trying to find the temple that they apparently also sent Orm to.
Which is fucking weird. It's so dumb.
I didn't know that was a prison. I also didn't know that you knew it existed. Last time you said it was a lost place.
Yeah.
The lost realm or whatever you called it. And it doesn't seem very lost. Seems like it's up and running and there are people living here. Also, apparently the Council of Atlantis okayed Orm's invasion plan because they keep on blocking literally anything Arthur wants to do. But Orm was totally good to trick a bunch of other nations and kill a bunch of other monarchs and do all these things.
They went way over cliche on that that board and how they're like, no,
you can't do anything.
It's like, dude.
Okay, so what's the fucking point of this?
Yeah.
Thanks, Congress. I needed to see because I don't have enough pain and consternation from Congress in real life.
Yeah.
I need it in my fucking Aquaman movies now. Thanks, Congress.
It's so bad.
No, there are just too many moments like that where that became the entire movie.
Yeah.
Was just, what's happening? And then intermittently, shouldn't this be blank? Or rather, shouldn't this be solved by blank? Why is this a thing? And then, this is dumb. Those are the three kind of emotional tones you hit in Aquaman Lost Kingdom. Is like, why is this happening? Why isn't anyone else taking care of this? God, this is stupid.
Yeah. And I didn't get the scene at the end with Orm where he's eating a sandwich and then he just eats a bug.
Oh, because he was tricked by Arthur into eating a cockroach on the island and told it was a delicacy. And so now he sees a cockroach and he puts it in his sandwich because he thinks it's a delicacy.
Because
he's a fish out of water?
Yeah.
Because he's a fish out of water, Steve.
And that's the fucked up thing about this movie. Like, I remember a lot of it now, but as it was going, I just kept forgetting what happened. The scene before, it was so bad.
Literally, my reaction to this movie was just, I only remember the stuff that I found frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember the good parts. I just remember the parts where I was like, why the fuck is this? The baby is born before the 5-month jump. There's a 5-month jump. The baby is the exact same age.
Thank you. Yes.
What the fuck is happening?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up.
If you're not going to take this seriously, then I'm not going to show up to your party.
Like, mention something maybe that they age slower.
But we know that's not true because that wasn't a thing for Arthur.
But Arthur says he's half human, half... But so this would be 3/4 Atlantean. Yeah. But it's like, you don't even mention anything like that. And it's like, well, what the fuck?
You give us nothing. You cast this baby that doesn't look anything like Aquaman. And then you have him be a perpetual baby who never ages.
Yeah.
He's one of those babies where you could throw him against a wall and he doesn't get hurt.
Yep.
Like, nothing phases this baby. Always fine. Always totally fine.
Like, I don't think he ever cried.
Doesn't really cry.
I don't think he ever cried.
Mostly left with his grandpa in the lighthouse for most of the movie.
And it's like, you're going to leave a baby with Boba Fett? I mean, come on.
You are the king of Atlantis. I'm sure they have someone that can take care of the baby. And if Boba Fett wants to be part of that, I'm sure that Atlantean technology and magic has a way to facilitate it.
Yeah.
I know this because I've seen it in other pieces. So it's got to be here. Because if they figured it out in the Aquaman animated movie, how to do that, how to have Batman be on the floor of the ocean, I think you can figure it out here.
And it was so weird, the relationship between him and Atlanta, because it's like, it seems like they're in love still. Like, at the end of the first movie, she comes back to him, and then when this starts, though, she's never there until he gets hurt, and then she's there, and it's like, I'm really confused what's going on with that.
There's a lot of injured spouses in this movie where it's like, something has to happen to the spouse. They're injured and in the hospital. But nobody's going to die.
And when Amber Heard was hurt, it's like, he did not give a shit. You can kind of act Jason Momoa like you gave a shit, but you didn't give a shit.
This is what I mean. Why is she in this movie?
I don't know.
Like, you have to have Mira in the movie. Why is she still played by Amber Heard?
Yeah.
If we can recast Cassie Lang, we can recast Mira.
And how can you get rid of Willem Dafoe off screen?
That was silly. He dies of a plague.
It's like, it's Willem Dafoe, dude. It's like Prometheus. Not Prometheus. What's the second one? Alien.
Covenant.
Covenant. It's like, okay, so you have a major character everyone liked, and you're just going to kill him off screen?
Well, that was especially funny because they spent so much time with her at the end of that movie showing her escape. And then we meet David, and David's like, yeah, she died. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean she died?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, she died.
And that was kind of the same here. It's like, he was a major fucking component of that first movie, and it's Willem goddamn Dafoe.
I always laughed when Willem Dafoe would show up because he's so clashes with everything that's happening here. So it's like, it'd be like if Al Pacino showed up. You're like, what the fuck is happening?
What the fuck is the Green Goblin doing?
Why is he here? Why is he the Vizier? Why is any of this happening? Yeah. And so when he died off camera, I was like, I mean, this doesn't make any sense, but at the same time, I didn't really need Willem Dafoe in this movie anyway, because it didn't make any sense. It makes
you wonder if he just asked for too much money.
I think he was busy with something else. I think he was probably filming something else. He's been busy the last few years. He was probably filming an art project that actually mattered. He was filming The Lighthouse, where he gets to be King Triton in real life.
Well, what was the... Because he was in...
he was in Poor Things.
Poor Things. But that was filmed long after, Yeah, Lighthouse, actually, that was kind of in line with when they filmed this movie, because this has been sitting for a long time.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I have a lot of questions about this movie. But that's the thing. Coming out of a movie, the thing that I want to talk about shouldn't be the production of the movie. It should be the movie. I shouldn't be left asking, what the fuck happened in the production of this movie that it ended up being this? I should be talking about the octopus playing drums and the cool fights underwater and the seahorse battles and the depth beatings and all these other things that are Aquaman. I should be talking about those, and instead I'm sitting here being like, but are they the suits from Planet of the Vampires? Because it looks a lot like the suits from the Planet of the Vampires.
And once again, this movie makes you question how bad was Batgirl.
Yes.
If they canceled that, but not
kept
this.
Flash and this.
Yes.
And they got rid of Batgirl, which had less CGI than
And
the Flash and this.
A third of this movie.
So why did they get rid of that one and not one of these two?
I don't know.
I will never understand that. Again, I need a documentary about the DCEU going through all of the decisions and just the ups and downs of all of it. The Zack Snyder fired, the Zack Snyder brought back, the Joss Whedon here to save the day, cramming all of everything into Batman v Superman instead of having it be just a movie.
Yeah.
And then ultimately coming to this and the Flash. I want to know about the rushed production on the Flash, and I want to know what the fuck happened here.
Yeah.
Because this has Discovery Warner Brothers written all over it of just a fiasco. I don't get it. I don't know what happened.
I really don't.
It's a mess. It's a high holy mess, and there's just a lot of moments where I'm like, man, this should work, and it just doesn't. No part of this works.
This is my second F. This was my double F show. That's why I was saying that to me this is the death of the superhero. Because these two movies, to me, epitomize what's wrong with the superhero genre right now. And there's no better example than this last one.
I'll give it a D simply because I didn't hate it. I nothinged it. I nothinged it. It was nothing to me.
Okay, I can see it nothing.
And so like I can't give it an F because I didn't hate it enough to give it an F.
And that's why I give it an F. I really did enjoy the first one a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
and
I love the first
Jason
Aquaman.
Momoa.
I love the first Aquaman.
Oh, it's great.
It's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's a great movie.
It's so fun, and the pacing on it is so great, and the characters are so good, and the design is amazing, and the look of it is great, and the effects are amazing, and just everything about it is a 10.
Yeah.
And then this is...
Well, that's the thing with this one, is what makes this so frustrating for me is prior to the whole shakeup with DC, this was their serious attempt at a sequel.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until James Gunn took over that they might have cut a couple things and kind of rushed it. But there's not enough left of this movie to make me think that whatever the first edit might have been, even with Amber Heard in it more, that it would have been good.
Well, and like this doesn't even tie back to the main universe. Like that's how far they've fallen. Is that this doesn't even tie back to anything else. You know, so like it references Superman and Wonder Woman, but it doesn't tie back to anything. It doesn't lead to anything.
Doesn't talk about the Flash, and Arthur's fucking at the very end of the Flash in the post-credit scene.
It doesn't talk about Flashpoint, or if anything happened, or if Arthur's angry at the Flash over something being changed. Anything?
Nothing.
Anything? Nothing connective?
Nope.
Nothing connective. So then this means absolutely nothing to me.
And at least in some of the Marvel movies, when you don't have the other, they talk about the Avengers and they talk about these other characters. They don't even, like you said, they talk about Superman. They don't talk about anyone else.
They barely mention them, kind of as an afterthought. They tick the box. What is Superman doing that he can't solve this problem?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to tick that box and we're going to answer that question, but we're not going to go into any of that. And like Blue Beetle also didn't expand the universe any, but it was also a much smaller, much more insular film that was about family and other things. I mean, this is also technically about family, but it becomes about so much more.
Yeah.
Because there's themes of climate change and doom of the planet and the planet that we hand off to the next generation and all these other ideas that are kind of vaguely brought up but never have anything done with them. So what's the point? What's the point of any of this?
And it was, the big difference with Blue Beetle, too, is a much more intimate movie than this movie. This movie was just so loud and so in your face and so it's just vomiting CGI all over the place that it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah.
No,
and I won't get over the stuff with Orm. That again is
another. Terrible.
It's just another element of the production that I want to know.
Movie part with
what
the two
the
of them
fuck
was
is going
so
on?
bad.
Because like they laid the groundwork at the end of Aquaman for them to be friends, to have this kind of like, I don't want to hate you. You're my brother. We're gonna figure this out, and when you're ready to talk, we'll talk. And
their answer was to throw him in prison and torture him. Pretty much, that was the answer.
Because they had to do that because of the fish people, supposedly. That was the arrangement that they said. But, like, again, I just don't understand bringing back Orm in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, like, as an advisor, if you're going to have Willem Dafoe not be in this movie, you could bring in Orm as the Vizier. I've seen that. I've seen Orm be at Aquaman's right-hand side. Not unheard of. This whole buddy cop thing, and we got to teach Orm how to live on land. I don't want to do any of this, man.
It's so bad.
And also, I knew it was a long shot. I was really hoping Aquaman was going to lose a hand in this and we were going to get the harpoon hand. There were just so many moments that I wanted, and we didn't even get close to any of them.
Especially seeing as this Aquaman has the beard. So
yeah.
it's like,
I wanted that.
Harpoon hand,
I wanted that Aquaman. That's one of the badass Aquaman, and we just never get there. And instead, we just coast on a lot of nonsense that doesn't mean anything to anyone in the plot.
And I think the thing that I take after completing this film is the saddest part is this is the end. It's Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Maybe.
And it's like, no, because I highly doubt. Because he even said he might be, Lobo in the new DC universe. I don't see them, just because I think James Gunn wants to separate himself so much from the previous DCEU. And that's the sad part. It's like, I loved him as Aquaman.
Yeah.
I loved him.
He revitalized Aquaman.
Oh, absolutely.
Aquaman was a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Until Jason Momoa came along. He was a
other
fucking
than
joke.
us that have seen him in the animated movies, which he definitely fucking was, especially Flashpoint.
But like,
he was fucking badass.
Within pop culture, he was his superpowers that he can talk to fish. And he's a joke. Nobody takes him seriously.
That you brought up.
Robot Chicken.
Oh my god,
that's exactly where I was going.
Family Guy. A lot of the cutscenes where he's just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna talk to fish."
Fucking SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Dunks on Aquaman. Everybody dunked on Aquaman.
The Boys, the Aquaman-like character in it,
the Deep
is a joke.
Yeah.
And he's not a pedophile, but he's a sexual predator and a joke.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you're really sticking it to Aquaman because this guy's supposed to be like your Aquaman.
No,
it's terrible.
He gave Aquaman a credibility that was just begging to be given, and I really hope that I would love to see him come back. The one thing that I want to see in this next era of superhero stuff is let's start editing. Let's start editing more, guys. Let's all do another round of edits on everything before we put it out, and we'll make sure that what we're putting out is actually worth putting out instead of the tripe that we've been pushing out because we just got to get it out there. We got to stay relevant, so we just got to shove something down their throats, and it doesn't matter if it's good. Yeah. Just shove it in there. I want to edit in the sense of I want to assess what works and keep it. I don't want to get rid of those things. I want to keep them. I just don't know what their plan is because they announce what they're doing, but they don't say what the plan is. Yeah. And that's very concerning to me.
And my concern with James Gunn, and I love James Gunn, like there are a lot of his movies, I mean, going back to Slither, which I love, he does silly movies.
Yeah.
He does silly shows like Peacemaker, which we love.
And the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Oh, no. Why would you have to bring that up?
I'm just saying a record is a record is a record is a record.
I think what superhero movies need to get back to is not... They don't need the Nolan darkness. No. Which they were trying with...
That was so long. They were going for that for so long.
But you can have a darker tone to the movies and a more seriousness to them. Take them serious. That's where I think they're not doing with modern superhero movies. They're not taking it serious. They did in the beginning, and now it's like, it's for kids, it's to sell things, it's not a serious film.
Go back to the animated films. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll start taking the animated DC movies and putting them all together on YouTube.
But even like we were talking about the early Marvel movies, take it seriously and give us something that, it might have humor, but you're taking it serious.
Well, I go back to the Death of Superman animated film, where you have this whole thing where the Flash is getting married. And Superman's like, well, what are you going to tell Iris? And Barry's like, what do you mean, what am I going to tell Iris? And everybody's like, oh my God, Clark, you haven't told Lois. Oh my God. Are you fucking serious? And so you have this whole relationship thing with him and Lois, and that could get boring or tawdry. But then when he dies, it means so much more.
Yes.
So, you gotta lay the groundwork and keep it grounded. I'm not saying it has to be grounded. You can still have Cyborg have a digital projection of a submarine underwater and how fucking Green Lantern or whoever it was got his butt kicked by him. You can still do all that. That's great. Yeah. I have no problem with that. I want the characters themselves to be grounded characters because that's ultimately why we love them. Yeah. It's because it gives us something to aspire to, but it also shows us that we can be that.
Yes. And I love that dynamic you brought up because that is an important thing for me. If you think about it, what makes that so deep is Lois Lane has to mourn Superman and Clark Kent at the same time.
And separately.
And she has to relive through both. And that is so fucking powerful.
And she can't tell anybody what happened to Clark. Clark has disappeared.
Yeah,
He's
only
not
one
dead.
she can talk to is Martha Kent.
He's not dead. So everybody's like, oh, don't worry. Clark's fine. He'll come back. He'll talk to us. He's just underground somewhere in Afghanistan. It's dangerous, but like he'll be fine. Oh, she knows that that's not true.
Yeah.
And I love the animated movies because
Which
they
once
hit
again
that so
makes
hard.
the end of Batman vs Superman so stupid when they give a fucking funeral for Clark Kent. It's like, all right, well now he's back. Well, Clark Kent's back. Oh, but he fucking died.
He died overseas mysteriously, covering sports.
It's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb. All right, folks. Well, that was Neuropod Generations, episode 133. We really hope you enjoyed it, because I enjoyed every minute of this. We've been waiting for this episode for a long time, and I needed to talk about these movies, because unfortunately everyone I work with doesn't watch shit. Yeah. So it's like, I can't talk to anybody, and we've been waiting to talk about these, so I'm very happy to get it all off my chest.
Oh, definitely.
So if you liked what you heard, please go to youtube.com, look up Neuropod Generations, and revisit some of our past episodes, little bite-sized segments, or just go to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, listen to our back catalog, listen to our current shows, look forward to the future shows, which we got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot coming out.
There's
so much coming out.
I think pretty soon we're going to do Roadhouse. Me and Kelly are going to watch Poor Things this week. Yep. We got a lot of stuff.
Invincible, I'm catching up on.
Season 2 is coming up.
Avatar, we got
to go back to Avatar.
And then my most anticipated movie right now is on Netflix, and it comes out May 4th, and it's Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart movie Jerry Seinfeld made. It looks so fucking funny.
I can't get over these faux... They're not biopics. No. I don't know what they are, because they did one with Flaming Cheetos, and they did one with Kellogg, and they did one with Beanie Babies. Yeah. And I'm just like, is it a biopic? Is it not a biopic?
I was on board with it, and then I saw they have Bill Burr playing JFK, and I was like, I'm on board! Like, as soon as he started talking, I was like, holy fuck, I got this. Yeah. So, if we got a lot to talk about, we will get into more. Please check back next week and future weeks, because we're going to keep rolling, folks. Yeah. You're never getting rid of us.
In the meantime... our art is by Courtney Howell. Our theme is by Brendan Williams and James Connolly. Yes. And you can find me at jutsumstudios.work under the Parks Division tab.
You can find me under a rock somewhere.
And until next time, friends and enemies, we will be ranting and raving like mad people. Great. Either in the cheese section or in our own living rooms, terrifying our pets and our wives.
Yes.
Have a great week, friends and enemies.
Peace.